Restaurants and the food industry in general are pretty much the most wasteful industry in the world. For every calorie of food that we consume here in Britain today, 10 calories are taken to produce it. That's a lot. And I want to take something rather humble to discuss. I found this in the farmer's market today, and if anybody wants to take it home and mash it later, you're very welcome to. The humble potato. And I spent a long time, 25 years, preparing these. And it pretty much goes through 8 different forms in its lifetime. First of all, it's planted, and that takes energy. It sort of grows and is nurtured. It's then harvested. It's then distributed, and distribution is a massive issue. It's then sold and bought, and it's then delivered to me. You know, I basically take it, prepare it, and then people consume it. Hopefully they enjoy it. And the last stage is basically waste. And this is pretty much where everybody just disregards it. There are different types of waste. There's a waste of time, there's waste of space, there's a waste of energy, and there's a waste of waste. And every business I've been working on over the past 5 years, I'm trying to lower each one of those elements. Okay, so you ask what a sustainable restaurant looks like. Basically, a restaurant that looks like just like any other. This is the restaurant, a Acorn House, front and back. So let me run you through a few ideas. Floor, sustainable, recyclable. Chairs, recycled and recyclable. Tables, Forestry Commission. This is Norwegian Forestry Commission wood. This bench, although it was uncomfortable for my mum, she didn't like sitting on it, so she went and bought these cushions for me from a local jumble sale, reusing, which I thought was pretty good. I hate waste, especially walls. If they're not working, put a shelf on it, which I did, and that shows all the customers my products. The whole business is run on sustainable energy. This is powered by wind. All of the lights are daylight bulbs. Paint is all low volume of chemical, which is very important when you're working in the room all the time. I was experimenting with these, I don't know if you can see it, but there's this sort of work surface there, and that's a plastic polymer. And I was thinking, right, I was trying to think nature. But then I thought, no, experiment with resins, experiment with polymers. Will they outlive me? They probably might. Right, here's a reconditioned coffee machine. Actually, it looks better than a brand new one, so looking good there. Now, reusing is vital. And we filter all our own water. We put them in bottles, refrigerate them, and then we reuse that bottle again and again and again. Here's a great little example. If you can see this orange tree, it's actually growing in a car tyre, which has been turned inside out, sewn up. It's got my compost in it, which is growing an orange tree, which is great. This is the kitchen, which is in the same room. I basically created a menu that allowed people to choose the amount and the volume of food that they wanted to consume. Rather than me putting a dish down, they were allowed to help themselves to as much or little as they wanted. Okay, it's a small kitchen. It's about 5 square meters. It serves 220 people a day. We generate quite a lot of waste. This is the waste room. You can't get rid of waste. But this story is not about eliminating it. It's about minimizing it. In here, I have produce and boxes that are unavoidable. I put my food waste into this dehydrating, desiccating macerator, turns food into an inert material, which I can store and then compost later. I compost it in this garden. All of the soil you can see there is basically my food, which is generated by the restaurant, and it's growing in these tubs, which are made out of storm-felled trees and wine caskets and all kinds of things. 3 compost bins. Go through about 70 kilos of raw vegetable waste a week. Really good. Makes fantastic compost. A couple of wormeries in there too. And actually one of the wormeries was a big wormery. I had a lot of worms in it. And I tried taking the dried food waste, putting it into the worms, and said, there you go, dinner. That's like, you know, vegetable jerky. And killed all of them. I mean, it's like, I don't know how many worms in there, but I got some heavy karma coming, I tell you. This is what you're seeing here is a water filtration system. So this takes the water out of the restaurant, runs it through these stone beds. There's going to be mint in there, and then I sort of water the garden with it. And I ultimately want to recycle that and put it back into the loos, maybe wash hands with it, I don't know. So water is a very important aspect. Started meditating on that and created a restaurant called Waterhouse. If I could get Waterhouse to be a no-carbon restaurant that is consuming no gas to start with, that would be great. Managed to do it. This restaurant looks a little bit like Acorn House, same chairs, same tables, you know, they're all English and a little bit more sustainable. But this is an electrical restaurant. The whole thing is electric, the restaurant and the kitchen. And it's run on hydroelectricity, so I've gone from air to water. Now, it's important to understand that, you know, this room is cooled by water, heated by water, filters its own water, and it's powered by water. It literally is Waterhouse. The air handling system inside it, I got rid of air conditioning because I thought it was too much consumption going on there. This is basically air handling. I'm taking the temperature of the canal outside, pumping it through a heat exchange mechanism. It's turning into these amazing sails in the roof, and that in turn is falling softly onto the people in the restaurant, cooling them or heating them, as the need may be. And this is the English Willow air diffuser, and that's softly moving that air current through the room. Very advanced and no air conditioning. I love it. In the canal, which is just outside the restaurant, there's hundreds of meters of coiled piping, and this takes the temperature of the canal and turns it into this 4 degrees heat exchange. I have no idea how it works, but I paid a lot of money for it. And what's great is one of the chefs who works in that restaurant lives on this boat. It's off-grid. It generates all its own power. He's growing all his own fruit, and that's fantastic. There's no accident in the names of these restaurants. Acorn House is the element of wood. Waterhouse is the element of water. And I'm thinking, I'm going to be making 5 restaurants based on the 5 Chinese medicine, acupuncture, specialities. I've got water and wood. I'm just about to do fire. I've got metal and earth to come. So you have to watch your space for that. Okay, so this is my next project. 5 weeks old, it's my baby, and it's hurting real bad. The People Supermarket. So basically, the restaurants only really hit people who believed in what I was doing anyway. What I needed to do is get food out to a broader spectrum of people. So people, i.e. perhaps more working class, or perhaps people who actually believe in a cooperative. This is a social enterprise, not-for-profit, cooperative supermarket. It really is about the social disconnect between food, communities in urban settings, and their relationship to rural growers, and connecting communities in London to rural growers. Really important. So I'm committing to potatoes, I'm committing to milk, I'm committing to leeks and broccoli, all very important stuff. I've kept the tiles, I've kept the floors, I've kept the trunking, I've got in some recycled fridges, I've got some recycled tills, I've got recycled trolleys. I mean, the whole thing is super sustainable. In fact, I'm trying, and I'm going to make this the most sustainable supermarket in the world. That's 0 food waste, and no one's doing that just yet. In fact, if Sainsbury's, if you're watching, let's have a go. Come on, try it on. I'm going to get there before you. Okay, so nature doesn't create waste as such. Everything in nature is used up in a closed, continuous cycle, with waste being the end of the beginning. And that's kind of been something that's been nurturing me for some time, and it's an important statement to understand. If we don't stand up and make a difference and think about sustainable food, think about the sustainable nature of it, then we may fail. But I wanted to get up and show you that we can do it if we're more responsible. Environmentally conscious businesses are doable. They're here. You can see I've done 3 so far. I've got a few more to go. The idea is embryonic. I think it's important. I think that if we reduce, reuse, refuse, and recycle right at the end there, recycling is, the last point I want to make, but, it's the 4 R's rather than 3 R's, then I think we're going to be on our way. So these 3 are not perfect. They're ideas. I think that there are many problems to come, but with help, I'm sure I'm going to find solutions. And I hope you all take part. Thank you very much.